Hello everyone, today I want to show you how I transform a nerf hammershot from looking like that to that nice little blaster here. I will show you how I spray paint, I will show you how I paint the details, and I also will show you how I make a handle like that, how to remove the ugly plastic wrap that some zombie strike blasters have on the grip, on the handle, and I will also show you how to paint this fake wood. I start by removing the fake plastic wrap from the handle. I use a Dremel to do it, but you can of course also sand it down by hand with sandpaper. Problem is that the plastic is so thin on some spots that there will be holes in it. So what I did is I used a 2-component putty. This is T.U.N.K.A plastic putty, and to fill the holes. Here I mix it with the hardener. And then I just put it inside the shell on all spots that are thin or that already have holes. Just like that. And then I sanded the rest by hand. You can see on the lighter spots where the putty came through. And then I decided to close these little gaps here as well. So I used another 2-component putty. This is a little finer. And of course again mixed it with the hardener. And for works like that, I like to apply the putty with a glove. Just like that. And then of course I sanded everything down again. Then I removed the labels that I don't want and the safety warnings, also with sandpaper. Of course you can do that with a Dremel as well, but it's more cleaner with sandpaper. And then I sanded the whole shell and everything that has to be painted. First with a sanding sponge and then with a sanding towel or whatever this is called. Of course you can use sandpaper as well. And of course you have to remove the trigger as well to paint it. This is how you remove it, and this is how you put it back in again for later on. And if you want to paint the hammer as well, you have to push out these 2 bolts to get to it. And the last step before painting is taping off. I tape off all moving parts that don't necessarily have to be painted, just for the blaster to work a little smoother once it's finished. And I start off with plastic primer. This is not necessary, but it brings very nice results. Unfortunately I forgot to film the next step. I painted everything in a dark gray. And then I let that dry for about 6 hours or so. Then I taped off everything but the handle, but the grip, and used a very rough sandpaper to scratch in lines all in the same direction to resemble the grain of the wood. It's nice to do that after applying the first layer of paint, because then the scratches will be in that paint. Then I took yellow spray paint and painted the handle in a light yellow. This will be the first layer of the fake wood that I'm going to apply to the handle. Once that is dry, I take brown color. I use Tamiya acrylic paint, and with an old dry brush that is a little hard and has fuzzy hairs, I again paint fake wood grain onto the handle. Then I take some water and mix just a little bit of a darker color, here again a brown tone, and a little more of a lighter color like red, or in my case orange. And you can even use purple for nice results. And mix that all together. I here even put a little bit of gray inside. But it's very important to keep that mixture very thin. Needs lots of water and very little paint. And then you apply it to the whatever you want to make look like wood. And you do that in several layers. You paint on one layer and let it dry. And you do it until you think it looks good. It's important to let it dry between the steps. You can use a heat gun or a hair dryer, but when using a heat gun, be careful not to melt the plastic. For the second layer I decided to go with a little more orange. And then I let it dry again. Now I take care of the rest of the shell with a technique called dry brushing. I highlight all the edges of the blaster. I therefore take silver paint, put it on a dry brush, and then get all the color out of the brush again, but almost all color. It's important that there is really very little color in it. And then I at first gently go over all edges, and this makes it look like if the metal that is under black paint is coming out on everything that scratches or is used a lot. That way it looks like if it was a metal gun that was painted in black, although you put on the color the other way around. And once there is very little color in the brush, you can go a little stronger and harder over all edges and over the whole shell. Trigger will be used a lot on a real gun, so I put more silver on it. Also this little thing. And the more you do that, the more used the blaster looks at the end. And as a last step, I decided to paint all the fake screws in silver as well. Just like that. Yeah, now I put on the first layer of clear coat. I always go first with glossy clear coat. Put on a relatively thick layer of it, because glossy clear coat just cures a little harder and gives better protection. But because I do not want my blasters to shine, I then put on another coat of satin or matte clear coat. But this one doesn't have to be so thick as the first one. It's just for the looks. And of course wait at least 2 hours between the two coats, the clear and the matte one. And then I let everything dry about 6 hours. And yeah, then I put everything back together again. The hammershot is very nice, a nice blaster to put together, because you have that like mechanic in one piece that you just put inside. And all screws are of the same length, so not much to think about. So, and that's about all. Little test if everything just works. Seems to work fine. So thanks for watching my video, and I hope to see you next time.